Shortly after the ratings agency Standard & Poor's downgraded the government's credit rating from AAA to AA, Republican lawmakers called for Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner to step down. My next guest is one of those people. But she knows I'm going to hold her feet to the fire on this. She also voted yes on raising the debt ceiling. So how does she square those two views? Here to explain her stance is Tennessee Republican Congresswoman and champion of your right to buy whatever light bulb you want and use in your own house.
You got it.
Marsha Blackburn. Congresswoman Blackburn, it's a pleasure. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Judge.
What about this debt deal? A lot of people in the Republican leadership in the House and the Democratic leadership in the Senate said if we don't vote for this, if we don't let the president borrow $2.4 trillion, all hell is going to break loose. Well, it became law, and all hell broke loose in the stock market. Do you bear some responsibility for that, Congresswoman?
Well, I think what you're seeing happen is what we have said over and over since the first of the year, when the president wanted a clean, as he called it, debt ceiling raise. And the American people and the markets are sending a message to Washington that the spending is out of control. And the solution that came forward last week is just a first step. It is not going to be the last thing you see Republicans do to cut spending, and it certainly is not what we wanted, but it did put on the books some cutting, some capping, and a vote that is going to be there on the balanced budget amendment, which is the ultimate cap. And, you know, Judge, it's not the bill that I would have written or that you would have written, but it was, as Reagan would say, I'm going to take a half loaf this week and come back and get the full loaf next week, and that's what you're going to see us pushing to do. They still have cut, cap, and balance.
Before this bill was on the table, Congresswoman Blackburn, you were one of the champions of the following argument. We do not have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. And we have a borrowing problem.
And we still do.
I am paraphrasing, but I think you'll accept my paraphrase. Yet you and Republican leadership rejected the arguments of the Tea Party, who supported you, and rejected the argument of sound money, and let this president, after he jumps through some hoops, borrow $2.4 trillion more. Didn't you turn your back on your own values?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. And I'm so thrilled that not only Tea Party groups, but grassroots activists from around the country are helping us to rein this spending in, to corral it. And, you know, that's what we did. Didn't get everything that we wanted to see, but there again, we got some cuts. We took some steps toward putting that Ryan budget on the book. You get over 60% of the Ryan budget signed into law of the cuts, the discretionary cuts that were there, Judge, and you get a guaranteed vote on the balanced budget amendment, which is what we have to have.
But you know
again,
this.
Not the full loaf.
You know that the balanced budget amendment is not going to pass. It'll never get 2/3 in the Senate. It may get 2/3 in the House. You also know
you don't know till you try.
All right, I appreciate the trying. But you also know that the legislation for which you voted does not cut spending. It reduces the increase in the planned spending, meaning we're spending more in 2011 than we spent in 2010, and we'll spend more in 2012 than we're spending in 2011. And you voted for that.
Well, but what it does is to put some caps there to corral it. What this president and this administration is doing is their average monthly deficit is $111 billion a month.
Right.
When you had from 95 to 06, the average annual deficit was $96 billion. So what there was an annual deficit up until 06, that is now a monthly deficit. We had to get the blank check out of the president's hands. It is not the steps that are going to be the final solution, but it gives us somewhere to continue to cut from. And I've got my list of bills that I've been working on, and one of them is, you and I've discussed it, the 1%, 2%, and 5% across the board spending reduction bills.
I only wish that that could become law.
Cut a penny a year, a nickel a year.
Got it. We got to go. You're a good sport to come on. You knew we were going to disagree, and I welcome you being here, and you're always welcome back. Now, just let me buy the light bulbs that you and I want in our own homes. Thanks for joining us.
Listen, we agree on that one.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes, we do, Congresswoman. Thank you so much.